Looking for ways to save money in your electricity bill? Trina Solar, the global leader in PV and smart energy, presents Vertex, the most advanced solar panels in the world. Providing you with the highest power and efficiency available, up to 670 watts, Vertex modules can save you more money. Reliability and performance have driven our worldwide popularity. So trust us to power your home or business and enjoy peace of mind with our 25-year warranty. To find more information and to find a local provider close to you, visit trinasolar.com.
Our dear listeners from all across Africa, welcome to a new episode of Energizing Africa. This talk show is brought to you by Trina Solar, the global leader in PV and smart energy solution provider. As we all know, Africa is currently transforming itself. Each and every country across Africa is working hard to upgrade infrastructure, develop the local industry, boosting the competitiveness of local organizations so that they can compete in the global market, removing barriers abroad and enhancing the efficient use of the natural resources. And one good way to do this is to upscale renewable energy and energy efficiency across each and every industry. And as we all know by now, in this program, we host one of Trina Solar experts who are walking us through the latest trend and what's happening in the solar energy and how renewable energy and solar energy specifically can help Africa to transform itself. Today, our focus is going to be given to industries and how solar energy can be used to cut the bill, reduce the costs for each and every industry. And we're very lucky to have with us today Lourens Vermaak, Regional Sales Manager, South Africa at Trina Solar. Lourens, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you, and it's really an honor to be here today and to be given the opportunity to really talk about solar and the benefits of it, and let our listeners get a better understanding of what the cost benefits are and what all the other benefits are with regards to solar, and how it can really uplift us as Africans and really give us a chance to do better for ourselves and also leave our generations to come a much cleaner and more healthier earth to live on.
What a great start of this talk show. So, Lourens, really we're excited and we're happy because South Africa specifically is a great success story across Africa when it comes to adoption of solar energy and renewable energy. So by listening to you and your precious insights, I think we're going to benefit not only from your experience, but also to know more about the story and the success story of South Africa and how South Africa managed to have this leap in the adoption of renewable energy. But before we start, let's have this commercial break and we'll come back to you and to hear and to listen more to Lourens. A commercial break and we will be back. And we're back from the break. This is Energizing Africa, brought to you by Trina Solar. Lourens, our guest for today, is an expert in the adoption of solar energy in the industrial sector. Originally, Lourens is from South Africa, and he's definitely going to walk us through the South African experience. But before we start, Lourens, can you walk us please through your career profile?
Yes, most definitely. Look, I mean, solar was adopted, or the adoption of solar started primarily, I guess, in South Africa, and that was around 2011. I studied supply chain management through Apex, and that's where I based my career on. I was a logistics manager, really taking care of supply chain issues and that sort of thing. And then when the solar industry started uplifting or making its mark in the African continent, I got an opportunity with SunPower at the time, and SunPower was initially involved in the first projects in the South African government procurement program, which we call the REIPP, which is a government-led procurement program which allows for a certain gigawatt or megawatts to be installed, and the guys obviously have to tender on that. Now, SunPower won 2 of these projects in the tendering process, and I joined the team initially as a logistics manager, which I then moved up in the ranks. I then further on moved to Jinko. I was part of a team of 8 South Africans, together with a bunch of Chinese folks that came here to set up a factory for Jinko in Cape Town. So I was part of that process as well. And then I moved into sales with Jinko as well. And then initially moved on to REC. I then worked for Canadian Solar, and I'm now finally, my new family is Trina Solar, which, is the best company to work for in the world. And I'm really excited to be part of this team.
We're equally excited, Lourens. Thank you so much. It's really an exciting background. But let me ask you this question. Coming from an industrial sector myself, I know that securing the energy need for each business was a challenge for the procurement team, just to make sure that not only they have the best deals in terms of affordability, but also in terms of availability. We all know the challenges the world is facing now in securing their energy needs. So how your background in supply chain did help you to have this current position in the sales and in the renewable energy business?
Look, I mean, in the beginning, like I said, in 2011, when the first projects were awarded, 2012, 2013, when I started construction, there was obviously, it's a project team that needs to be put together. And this project team would consist of the project manager and finance people and logistics guys and all of that sort of, stakeholders that need to be part of that project team. And I slotted into one of those. But I saw a lot more exciting things in the solar industry than just being a logistics manager, and I kind of worked my way into it, because if you look at it, being a supply chain manager and having the background in it really benefits you as a salesperson, because you understand the logistics behind getting solar panels from China down to South Africa or any part of Africa for that part. There's also in 2011 the projects team, there was a lack of experience or a lack of logistics managers that could really understand the needs of supply chain and especially when it comes to projects, the tight deadlines that needed to be adhered to, getting modules on site on time. All of these things just, it worked together, and it gave me the building blocks to get myself into companies like Canadian Solar, like Jinko Solar, and these are big global players. It's through the experience and through my track record, it's allowed me to work for bigger guys like the Trina Solar, for instance. And it's also the combined experience with the logistics and the sales, which really gives me a benefit when I go and speak to my customers. Because it's not just about supplying them modules, you've truly got to understand their needs. Some of these guys are remotely, especially in Africa, we know that there's a lack of proper roads, there's a lack of, and most of these projects are really remote. So, selling a product, you need to consider all of these factors as well when selling to a client, because all of these factors will have an effect on the actual cost of supply or the purchasing cost.
Oh, interesting. Because, there are favorable improvements now we can see when it comes to the solar energy. Like, there is a huge cost reduction in the initial costing of adopting renewable energy, and specifically solar energy. Also, there is a huge performance improvement that can be felt. So, and I think further improvement and further cost reduction is still expected. So, if you can just walk us through the global trends, what's happening now in terms of the solar energy and how these trends are coming to favor the efficiency of businesses?
Yeah, look, I mean, since 2019, we've seen introduction of from across the platform. We've seen, especially the Super Five or the Super League, the top 5 companies. We've seen that they've changed the way of the size of the modules. It's now much larger modules that's being produced, and these modules generally have a higher power output, which now we've seen in 2021 surpassing the 600 watt per module mark, and this ultimately reduces the capex costs. Which then that trend of capex reduction will continue in 22-23 going forward. We need to understand what the larger modules mean. It allows you with a higher power bin, you would use a lot less piling, you would use a lot less of your balance of systems. You'll have to purchase to build this project. For instance, if you would take 3 years ago, you would get maximum power output would be 450 watt versus the 650 watt that you get in the market now. It's 200 watts more on a module, which means you would effectively install a lot less modules on your site to get to the same 50 megawatt site that you are trying to procure for.
Interesting. Well, most of us, or maybe not the very updated people, we tend to believe that solar energy can be very efficient when it comes to the residential sector, when it comes even to other sectors like agriculture. Not everyone is aware how renewables at large and solar energy specifically can be of help to the industrial sector, and especially when we speak about heavy industry, for example. So, can you please tell us what would be the potential use of solar energy in the industrial domain?
Yeah, look, I mean, we've seen that solar has provided a far more practical and cost-effective means of producing energy. Correct. The current solar PV is used across many platforms or applications. One of them is off-grid solutions, which means the system is completely not connected to the grid. It's a remote area. They've got a small farm or a small plant that's been set up, and they solely get the energy from that plant. Then we've also got the floating PV solutions. This has not really been taken up in Africa as such, but it is available. There are guys currently promoting this sort of solution. And then we'll also see irrigation plants, for instance, like you've mentioned, right? And then large-scale water pumping as well. We'll see that some of the industries, like in South Africa, the water sector uses solar PV as well to drive their water pumps to transport the water and clean water and recycled water. So there's actually many solutions, but these are the main ones that you can look at. And it also offers the industry or the off-takers the opportunity to drive down their cost by a noticeable percentage. And then this also depends on the kind of setup that they have. And it also contributes to the Paris initiatives to minimize industrial carbon footprint.
Well, I don't know, but when it comes again to the industrial sector, maybe solar was never on top of the options when we speak for alternatives to traditional sources of energy. So how businesses can ensure the consistency of the energy sources if we're speaking solar energy?
Look, with solar energy, it depends on, again, if it's self-consumption. Let's pull it a mine, for instance. They've got a 10 megawatt plant on their grounds. Throughout the day, they will consistently get power because the sun shines every day, and solar obviously generates power through the sun or from the sun source. But then what's happening in Africa now, there's a big drive towards storage. which now effectively will open up the industry consumption on PV in quite significantly, because once there's storage available, the solar panels can charge the batteries during the day, and then the operations, which in most cases consumes a lot less power than during the day. So the storage units can then, fulfill the energy requirements that this industrial group would need.
Okay, let's have this imagination. Let's imagine that Africa is working hard to utilize the precious and rich resources we have in terms of solar. What would be the potential of Africa, and how this can impact the economy, the GDP, if we're really utilizing this great source of energy that we have? What's ahead of us if we're conscious, if we're making good use of the solar energy across the African countries?
Look, the biggest selling point, I guess, for solar is the stability in electricity that it provides, and in any industry. And I mean, we've seen this in South Africa as well. The revenue losses that has occurred on the industrial side of the business because of blackouts or power failures and that sort of thing. So I think that's the biggest drive, because if you don't lose revenue, you've got additional funds or profit at the end of the year, which you can expand your manufacturing plant. You can also employ more people if you need to. So it's really endless, the possibilities, if you look at it in that perspective. Also, we have the Paris Agreement, and we are forced in a way, or it should feel to us that it's part of our obligation to move towards the solar industry or to any other renewable energy sector at least, or solution at least. Sorry. Because it really assists us in our carbon footprint, because a lot of the factories in Africa, especially today still, are still using fossil fuels and coal and that sort of thing that really pollutes the environment and not really contributing towards the Paris Agreement.
Well, when we speak of the fossil fuel and the coal and the pet coke, still they are seen as part of the renewable energy bundle, right?
Yeah, and I think, even in South Africa now, the coal industry is not dead, even though renewables are really, really busy. The government, there's a lot of job losses that's going to occur if you can just completely wipe out coal or fossil fuels. So it's going to be a trade-off, but it's going to happen over time. It's not, we can't say in the next 2 years when the whole of Africa is not going to use coal anymore. It's a transition period that we need to go through. And we've seen South Africa take the lead and set the example. So it's really, again, like you've mentioned earlier, it boils down to a thing of educating customers and educating operators and CEOs of what the benefits are of moving towards this sort of method of generating electricity.
Okay, usually we need to get inspired by some success stories, what's happening in Germany, what's happening in Italy and elsewhere. There are really some very bright examples on how solar energy came to impact the efficiency of the entire business sector. But here I would love to talk a bit about South Africa. South Africa is another one of the African countries. So, and we all know the challenges we have in terms of culture, in terms of education, in terms of infrastructure. How you guys managed to overcome and face the challenges and to have South Africa today as a success story?
There's a couple of things, but one of the things that South Africa has been, being given praise to is our procurement program. Because of its transparency and effectiveness, that has definitely helped to fast track or to at least get to the point where we are now. We've currently in South Africa, we've installed up to 6 gigawatts. And that has happened since 2011, so give and take 10 years. But having said that as well, we also faced our own problems. There was a big gap in the procurement from 2015 and I think until 2019, or 2020 at least. So I think policy is a big thing that the governments need to look at, and this is something that we mention a lot in our meetings as well. If the governments don't, let go of unnecessary policy and red tape, then it's definitely we're not going to see the pace of adoption as what we will hope to see, at least on the African continent. And South Africa has done quite well in it, but we're not nearly as far as we should be. But again, like I said, by having a proper procurement plan or program, it definitely helps. And then also with at least at the time, what's happening now, the large manufacturers like Trina Solar is driving down cost even more with our solutions. So it becomes a lot more sensible for guys as well, private off-takers, to start installing solar. And I guess this will transpire into the rest of Africa as well. I mean, Nigeria is not doing so bad. Kenya is not doing bad as well. Namibia has done quite well as well. They've installed quite a couple of projects as well. So it is happening. It's just South Africa's taking the lead, and we have our own problems, but we're definitely leading the pack.
It is happening, that's for sure, and it's in train, that's for sure. But I need to know about, so what's the current energy mix for South Africa? Traditional energy versus renewable energy.
Yeah, so I mean, there's yearly procurement now coming out for up to 1 gigawatt, and it's normally a split between solar PV and wind. We've also seen now gas coming into the mix as well. And then obviously fossil fuel and coal is still part of it. I do not have the percentages right on my hand now. But
okay,
yeah,
but what's the target at least? So by 2030, so the country vision is to have what kind of split between renewable energy and traditional energy sources?
Yeah, so we're looking at again, I don't have those figures with me, but I know for a fact that for the PV alone, we're looking at a plus 10 gigawatt in South Africa alone that needs to be installed by 2030. That also would become.
And currently we are at 2.
No, we're at 6.
Oh, that's great. So we're close.
Yeah. No, we need to install an additional 10 gigawatts on top of the 6 gigawatt that is currently operating. That is the capacity that is operating. So we need about 50, like I said, from now onwards until 2030, there's at least another 10 gigawatt that needs to be procured on a government level alone.
Okay, so now, as you rightly mentioned, there are like some promising examples across Africa, and it's in train already, as you mentioned, Kenya, Namibia. So, as you rightly mentioned, that there are some countries that are currently like progressing with their strategies to adopt solar energy. What is challenging the race of the African nations to follow up and to make good use of the resources we have in terms of solar?
Again, like you've rightfully said, investment is definitely needed, and there are investment opportunities for sure. The World Bank has many times, the EU has put up investment funds for Africa, but it's hindered. The fast tracking of solar is hindered by, like I mentioned previously, government policy, and then there's also the fact of currency security. So in certain countries, you'll be able to invest, but you're going to struggle to get your money out of the country again if it's from a foreign investment. So those are two of the main factors, and I guess to a certain extent, there's still a large lack of education for these guys to really understand, because we've got guys and we've got countries in Africa that's got a lot of money, they do, but they're not aware or they haven't been awoken to the fact or the benefits of solar, which and this is happening across the board. Ourselves as well, we offer training sessions and stuff like that, and we really promote the products across Africa, but the uptake is not fast enough.
The uptake is not fast enough. This is Energizing Africa. We will go for a commercial break and we will be back, and we still have Lourens, the expert in solar energy and the application of solar energy in the industrial sector. And after the break, we're going to ask this question to Lourens. So Lourens, stay tuned, because after the break I'm going to ask you how African nations can make use of the 2020 Paris Agreement. A short break and we will be back.
Looking for ways to save money in your electricity bill? Trina Solar, the global leader in PV and smart energy, presents Vertex, the most advanced solar panels in the world. Providing you with the highest power and efficiency available, up to 670 watts, Vertex modules can save you more money. Reliability and performance have driven our worldwide popularity. So trust us to power your home or business and enjoy peace of mind with our 25-year warranty. To find more information and to find a local provider close to you, visit trinasolar.com.
And we're back from the break. This is Energizing Africa, brought to you by Trina Solar. And before of the break, we asked this question to Lourens, our guest for today. How African countries can really make good use of the 2020 Paris Agreement. How they can have the right investment in the renewable energy domain. So, Lourens, please, how African countries, like you mentioned the 2020 Paris Agreement and its impact and the commitment of Africa to like the rest of the regions, definitely. How we can make good use of this meeting?
Look, we need to ask ourselves what is the Paris Agreement brought along. One thing we know for sure is that it has put a lot more confidence in the fact that the industry is going to grow from here onwards. It's not something the trend is not going downwards. It's definitely going up, which means effectively that production capacity needs to be increased from the Chinese manufacturers across the board. Inverters, trackers, solar PV, all of that needs to be. They need to scale up. The scaling up of that will definitely then mean that the cost will be driven down due to economics of scale. So firstly, I mean, with this huge demand now, and especially the 2020 Paris Agreement means that there's a bigger demand and there's more commitment from all of these countries. And how do we benefit as Africa from it? We know that Africa, by large, has always imported everything, especially if we look at South Africa. If we build a solar project, then everything about that solar project is basically imported. You'll buy some cabling locally and all of that. So we need to ask ourselves, so for instance, with the trackers or the inverters, or maybe even the modules, what can we produce locally? What manufacture? Let's industrialize some parts of it and put up these factories, create more jobs for more people and more stability. If South Africa would spearhead this, for instance, and put up some manufacturing plants to manufacture clamps or steel work and that sort of thing, we can even export it to Kenya and to the likes of Namibia and that sort of thing. So it again, enhances our GDP because we're able to manufacture and export and also supply locally at maybe a cheaper cost. We don't know that because we know that in general the labor cost in South Africa is quite high. But these are the sort of opportunities that we can look forward to, especially with this Paris Agreement. And then again with the economics of scale, which means that the costing, the manufacturing cost is going to be driven down. So we need to take advantage of the cost per kilowatt hour price, which solar PV can offer, and because this will drive down our own manufacturing and operation cost of businesses that is currently operating in South Africa. We also know that we're the hottest continent in the world, so I mean it's a good continent for solar and also global investment, which then ultimately supports any country in Africa.
Wow. So the adoption of solar energy is going to impact economies directly and indirectly. Definitely, it's going to halve the cost and it's going to impact profitability. And on the other hand, it's going to create industries and to create businesses if we are to manufacture part of the panels or whatever cabling or whatever it takes to have this industry growing in Africa. This would create jobs, would encourage more exports, and definitely it would positively impact local economies. Thank you so much, Lourens, for bringing this. So, Lourens, before we close, and I'm trying to match your speed, before we close, can you tell us what's your priorities for this year, for 2022?
Look, I definitely want to get the advantages of PV out there a lot more. I'm going to be traveling quite a bit to Southern African countries, giving training sessions to smaller installers, that sort of thing, really letting them understand the value of PV. And then obviously for us as well as Trina Solar, it's important for us to really infiltrate the African market at more an extensive rate. But yeah, for me personally, it's again, we want to work together with guys because I'm a person that believes in education. It's one of my priorities in life, and I think that the biggest to solve most of the problems in Africa, starts by education. And if we can work together with partners on the PV side to put up mobile schools, mobile clinics, all of those sort of things, we're really going to see a definite change in the uptake on Africa and the sort of experience and knowledge that's going to come out of this continent. But again, sadly, we're not there yet. It's going to be a long road, but prioritizing this and putting bit by bit every day towards it, or some effort towards it, we'll see Africa get there.
Well, we do share this passion. I wouldn't say the dream, because definitely it's something that we can realize by just joining hands together. The stakeholders of the business, they should come together. They should really think collectively how to support the local economy and how to give this a strong push. So thank you, Lourens, very much for this insightful talk. And my very, very last question of this interview, I just would like to conclude with a message from you to businesses, why businesses should be really keen on adopting other sources of renewable energy, and specifically the solar energy.
Yeah, I think as any business owner, it is a fundamental obligation that you have towards not only your staff but also your community to produce and manufacture goods for them, to benefit them and to uplift them in life. But you need to do that. We need to do that safely and responsibly. So it's number one. It's obligation, like I said. We need to understand that we are some of the building blocks in the economy, and we need to contribute towards a cleaner, better, healthier future for our children. And we need to really look at things, at red tape and all of those sort of things that would hinder this process. The business case is there. It's been proven by numerous entities. So there's absolutely no reason, unless unknown to any of us, for any company to at today's day and age still wonder and ponder about renewables, whether it's the right thing to do or not.
Lourens Vermaak, can't thank you enough. This was a crispy, insightful, full of hopes talk. You really made it simple for us. Thank you for sharing the South Africa experience. I hope that those in charge, the decision makers who are currently listening to us, they would reconsider their plans for alternative energy. This year, 2022, we have all what it takes to cut costs and to boost the local economy. Thank you, Lourens. It was really an energetic, insightful talk. And thank you, Trina Solar, for sharing the expertise, the experts who are really made it simple for us. I hope that everyone has enjoyed this talk as much as we have benefited and enjoyed the interview. See you next week and another knowledgeable expert from Trina Solar and Energizing Africa. Thank you, Lourens, and thank you, Trina Solar.
Thank you, guys.
And
thanks to the
listeners
for sticking with us until now.
Looking for ways to save money in your electricity bill? Trina Solar, the global leader in PV and smart energy, presents Vertex, the most advanced solar panels in the world. Providing you with the highest power and efficiency available, up to 670 watts, Vertex modules can save you more money. Reliability and performance have driven our worldwide popularity. So trust us to power your home or business and enjoy peace of mind with our 25-year warranty. To find more information and to find a local provider close to you, visit trinasolar.com.